Apple plans to store personal data for its Chinese customers on computer servers run by a state-owned firm. An investigation by the New York Times found Apple has largely handed control to the Chinese government. The Times reviewed internal documents and spoke to over a dozen current and former Apple employees about how Apple has given in to demands from Chinese authorities. In a statement, Apple says, quote, "We have never compromised the security of our users or their data in China or anywhere we operate," and that in China, the law stipulates that iCloud data belonging to its nationals must remain in the country. "We comply with the law, but we make no compromises on user security. We retain control of the encryption keys for our users' data." For more on this, I want to bring in CBSN technology reporter Dan Patterson. Hi there, Dan. So why did Apple decide to share data with the Chinese government? Are there other ways Apple could have operated in the country?
Hi, Elaine. It's good to see you. And that is a complicated question. Look, Apple has said that the data is secure. It's physically secure. They've also said that it is not only protected by encryption, but that this is state-of-the-art encryption that is stronger than they use elsewhere, and only Apple retains the keys. But kind of in the middle here is an opaque compromise that they appear to have made, at least according to the New York Times and other reporting, where they made some concessions to the Chinese government and removed some apps from the App Store. It appears as though they may have even dropped the Made by Apple in California tagline on some iPhones, and bent to many of the demands of the Chinese government when it comes to at least their management of the App Store. Now, is this censorship related? It's hard to tell, and that's kind of where these compromises become very opaque.
Well, when it comes to this data, Dan, what will that data be used for, and what sort of privacy concerns does this raise for China and beyond?
Yeah, so significant privacy concerns, Elaine. This is your iCloud information. So if you've ever used a modern iPhone, you know this is your photos, your contacts, your text messages, who you call, your email potentially. That's all very sensitive information, and it's being stored in data centers that are not just this one data center. Apple has built a number of similar centers in the region, so it's fair to say this expansion is designed to house a lot of information. That means there's a lot of risk as well.
Well, as you point out, so phones gather data for much more than calls, texts, and emails. What other information could the Chinese government access and harvest?
Yeah, that's incredibly important to point out here, Elaine. Look, we don't know what they may or may not have access to. Again, Apple says that they hold the encryption keys for this information, but that metadata is really important. This is maybe not the content of your phone call, but who you called, for how long, at what times, where did you go, what did you do on your phone before and after. I'm sure that if you've watched CBSN, you've probably noticed us talk about iTunes 14.5 here in the United States that brings up these little do not track prompts. Well, some of those features that apps have access to are the other apps that you're using, where you go when you close one app, what do you open, how long do you use competitive apps. All of this information, this metadata, is potentially available to the Chinese government, which gives them not just a precise or zoomed in picture, but it also a pretty fleshed out topographical map that is broad of user behavior.
Well, Apple is a company that has cast itself as an organization that protects privacy. So how are officials reconciling that with what they agreed to in China?
They have, Elaine, and they're still kind of figuring this out. This is a weird new relationship, even though Apple's been at it for almost 2 decades. Look, they've staked their brand on safety and security, privacy, and kind of the tech company that you can trust. They're one of the very few tech companies that hasn't really had a negative story in quite a while. So this could potentially damage, the stakes are real high here. This could potentially damage or wound their brand of being a pro-privacy, pro-security, and ultimately pro-user, pro-human company.
All right, Dan Patterson for us. Dan, always good to have you. Thank you.
Good to see you.